Welcome, everyone, to a beautiful year. After many, many months of waiting, and after too long for me as a writer, I have a new book that is just come out. People always ask the same question when a new book comes out, at least one you've written. You get asked this question, what's this book about? That's a hard question to answer when it comes to a beautiful year. The subtitle is, on one level, it's 52 meditations on faith, wisdom, and perseverance. And it is that. It's 52 separate readings to take one through an entire year and help readers see the year differently. But it's a bit more than that as well. It isn't quite so easy as it might seem on the surface. In this book, there's a sustained story. It's a story about time and how we experience time and how we live in time. And it's a story about Christianity. What does it mean to be a Christian in this day and age? And what is Christianity all about anyway? A beautiful year. I don't actually teach anything in the book. What I do is I take you through a year and I'm showing you something. I'm showing you that time doesn't have to be linear. Time arcs. It bends, it rhymes, it layers itself, it circles back. There are switchbacks, unexpected turns. You can move toward the center of time where we encounter a sacred mystery, where there's sort of words that cannot really comprehend what we experience when we're close in to the heart of time, or we can be further sort of out in different parts of our experience away from the center. But in whatever case, we're not moving in a straight line. We know that life is complex, that life bends and takes us down very unexpected paths. The Christian year is like that. Now you might say, oh, it's just a calendar. It's not like a Western calendar where you have 12 months named after, heroes and military conquests and numbers and things like that. It's not a 12-month calendar in that sense. It is a solar calendar, so it does track a year similarly as a calendar year in the West does. But the story starts in an unusual place and it ends in a really unusual place. The Christian year, I think it's much more like a spiral or a cycle that is repetitious without necessarily actually repeating. So I don't want to say history repeats itself because that sounds very kind of, that sounds like a closed system. But there are things in history that echo as you're going through in these cycles, these bends, these curves in time. And the way that this works is that the secular year starts on January 1st. And it starts with this big celebration. Oh, wipe everything out. Remember I just said that. You throw the calendar away from last year. And now you have a blank slate of 12 months to make things better, beginning, middle, and end. You're going to be moving through that time. But the Christian year starts around December 1st. It starts 4 weeks before Christmas. And the way that it begins is it doesn't begin with a big celebration of anything. As a matter of fact, it starts with waiting. Advent is the first season of the Christian year. And that first season of the Christian year is about nothing in particular, except that it is hard to wait. That sounds like a kind of an inauspicious beginning to a year, is that you're waiting for something to happen. You're not celebrating. You're not, getting out in the streets and partying. No, that's not the Christian year. The Christian year whispers. And it says, what are you hoping for? Are you hoping for peace? Are you hoping for love? Are you hoping that the evils of this world and its empires will stop oppressing you and stop oppressing everyone you know? What are you hoping for? And if we're waiting for peace and love and true freedom, freedom from empire, the freedom that comes through the equality and dignity of all persons, if we're waiting for someone to truly love us, to free us from the clutches of this very sinful reality in which we live, where do we look? What can we expect? It seems like night is long. We don't know what's coming. And that's the beginning of the year. A season that asks us to anticipate what might be around the bend. No sure promise, but hints of promise everywhere. Hints promised to our ancestors, our own longings, and those little candles that we light in the dark form a path of light along the way. Two very different visions of beginning a year. Well, the Christian year moves through its paces in a way that is genuinely alternative to the secular year. Where in the secular year, you're celebrating military victories and consumerist holidays, and there's very little about love and mercy. There's much about superiority and brutality and to hell with our enemies. It's a calendar of imperialism. It's a calendar that celebrates violence. It's a calendar, by and large, that all of the people it claims as its heroes are celebrities, are famous in some way, shape, or form, with only a few exceptions. They didn't make their names by being loving. Martin Luther King, notable exception. But mostly it's about presidents and rulers and military victories. It's about empire, power. And it's about money. Black Friday, Amazon Prime days, so many shopping days left till Christmas. It's about those things. And it's about getting older. It's about aging, which is something that most of us don't take to very well. Now, the Christian calendar moves from the whisper to angels singing in heaven about how peace has dawned on earth. And then, while that's happening, there's another story that's brewing. And the alternate story is, even when the angels are singing, even when the promise is about to be fulfilled, even when the promise is being birthed as an infant in a stable, somebody's trying to wipe it out. And that somebody is a very rich king who has done merciless things to protect his own power, including killing many members of his own family, stealing from his own people, and giving worship to the Roman Caesar. And so Herod seeks to destroy the promise at its birth. And that's the story of Epiphany. Light coming into the world, and then the forces of this world of empire trying to extinguish the light. Will the light win? We go through the season of Epiphany, and the circle of light widens and widens and widens and widens until you get to February 2nd, which is a holiday called Candlemas. Most Protestants don't know about it. And on Candlemas, in the Middle Ages, people used to bring their candles to church to be blessed by priests. And after the candles were blessed, they would light the candles and carry the candles out into their villages and towns in long processions. And a traditional reading around the time of Candlemas is, "You are the light of the world." And notice how it isn't about imperialism. It isn't about a city set upon a hill. It's about regular people bringing unlit candles for blessing. And then they become the light that goes out into the world, into their villages, into their families, into the places that they inhabit. And then the weirdest thing happens. We stop. We stop with that story about light. Instead, we start talking about death. Oh my gosh, Christian stories kind of like this. Something good happens, something bad seems to happen. Well, we go into Lent, and that's the season when we look inward and we explore the depths of the human condition. And we decide that we're going to look at the face and not be afraid of it. We're going to see ourselves and our world for who and what is really going on all around us. What is going on in our hearts. We go through that season and we get up to the stunning Holy Week, where we have both feasting and death. We have the Last Supper. We have a feast on Holy Thursday, followed by a cross on Good Friday. There it is again. Life, feasting, celebration. Oh my gosh, evil. The empire is trying to destroy all that hope, trying to destroy the table. And then comes Easter Sunday, resurrection. How can this be? And a whole season of Easter asking the question, how can this be? What is this all about? How can Jesus do this? What is God up to? It all closes with 2 holy days of Ascension, Jesus leaving his friends here on earth, and then a day called Pentecost, when the Spirit of God falls very dramatically on a community of people and establishes them as, once again, the carriers of light into the world. You would think that the story would end at Easter, but it doesn't. I mean, if you were making a movie, wouldn't you end the story with the resurrection of some guy, being raised from the dead, coming out of the grave? Goodbye, Jesus. Yay! We're all going to be like that too. But the Christian year does not end with Easter. The story of death and resurrection is the middle of the story. Indeed, everything in the Christian year works from the center and radiates out, and then radiates from the edges back to the center. And the second half of the Christian year isn't about Jesus at all. It's about us. It's about what Jesus taught and then what we're supposed to do in response to that. Loving our neighbor as ourselves, loving God, caring for the poor, understanding the radical nature of the Beatitudes, pray every day this way, give us this day our daily bread. And so we go through a half a year, where there seems like there's almost nothing that happens except we become the agents, we become the actors, the participants in the story by the ways in which we respond to who Jesus was and what he taught when he was here on earth. And that's the Christian year. The Christian year is not got a beginning and a middle and an end, because when you get to the end of the story, which is sometime right around Thanksgiving, you start all over again. And you go back to waiting in Advent. a radiating circle, a labyrinth perhaps, a pathway, time bent, switchbacks, unexpected turns, long walks ahead. It's not a line. And if you live in time that's not a line, how do you tell the story? Well, you might tell it like Jesus. All of a sudden, a bunch of things become far less important. Things like power, amassing personal wealth, ignoring the dignity of your sisters and brothers and siblings. No, it becomes a different kind of story. It becomes a story about transformation and change and depth and giving and service and surprising moments whereby the world seems reversed and there are beauties that you never saw before. And so that's what a beautiful year is. I don't tell you about it. This is the closest thing I've done to telling anybody about it. I've tracked you through the year in its broadest of strokes. But in a beautiful year, I take you through it. Because I don't want to tell you about it. I want you to experience it. I want you to feel time differently. Because if we feel time differently, all of a sudden what's around us, those things that we're so frightened of and that we feel like are out of our control, we see that they're not really problems to be fixed, but instead that we've been living in a narrative, we've been living in a story that has caused so many people to make really bad choices. If you don't see the clarity of the story you live in, you'll always wind up in a dreadfully bad place. What do we do then about the times in which we live? We tell a new story. And we tell a new story because we've lived it and we understand it. We understand that there is a tenderness, a compassion, a grace, a sense of mercy, forgiveness, and beauty that exists around us all the time. And that the mercilessness of a particular kind of story that is focused on the elevation and the success of a few over the dignity of the many is a story that might succeed in the shorter term, but it's a story that people for generations beyond this will look back on and say, what a tragedy that they chose to believe the wrong story. A beautiful story invites you, a beautiful year invites you into a different story. It's a path I hope you'll walk. I hope you'll walk it with the words that I've put into the world. I'm glad you're here. And thank you. Thank you for helping me see more clearly the story in which we live, and that we all are really living in a truly beautiful year.